a little less than 72 hours away from the historic recall election for governor. The latest Marquette University poll shows Governor Scott Walker with a 7-point lead over Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett. Joining us this morning, Marquette University pollster and political analyst Charles Franklin. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
So your latest poll shows Governor Walker with a 7-point lead. Would you say that's a comfortable lead for the governor?
No, I think none of the leads are comfortable. We've seen independent polls showing 5 points, 5 points, 6 points, 5 points, 7 points. It's in that sort of 5 to 7 range. We've seen some Republican-leaning polls at 8, 9, and 12, and the Democrats have released internal campaign polls showing a 7-point Walker lead, 2 at 3, a 2, a 1, a 0, and now back up to a 2. So there's some range in the polls depending on whether it's more Republican-leaning, more Democratic-leaning, or the more independent. But of the last 17 polls, all but 2 are inside the margin of error for the poll. So in a rare bit of bipartisanship, both campaigns right now want to focus on get out the vote, that this is a close enough election that turnout could be the difference. And so whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, getting out the vote's the most critical thing right now.
And based on what you know about what you've observed historically of how politicians act in the final days of a campaign, are the candidates acting as if this were a dead heat, or is one or the other acting if they are the front runner?
Absolutely. I think that both are stressing the need to turn out. I mean, let's take out the campaign spin here. The polls don't make any difference. It matters who shows up on Tuesday and how they vote. And so that's what's going to determine the outcome of this. Both campaigns are exactly right. If you don't get out your voters, you don't win. And so stressing that this is a race that's close and could go either way. The other thing is the Government Accountability Board says we could have between 400 and 700,000 more votes cast than were cast in 2010. So the party or candidate that can turn out the preponderance of that increase in votes can be the difference on Tuesday. And I think that's the important thing to remember here at the end, regardless of which side you're on and regardless of which campaign spin you want to embrace.
If Tom Barrett is to beat Governor Walker on Tuesday, what voting group will he have to do better with this time around than he did when Walker defeated him a year and a half ago?
Well, clearly high turnout in Milwaukee and the area as well as Dane County is one core, but the other part is doing well in other parts of the state. Counties that may not be very large individually, but cumulatively account for quite a bit of the vote. And so when you look at the election map and how we swung from 2008 to 2010, there were a lot of counties that moved all in a Republican direction. If in this recall some of those counties move back in a Democratic direction, then it becomes a much more competitive race.
We just have a short time left. As you're watching the numbers come in on Tuesday, what will you be watching for as a bellwether for where this campaign is going?
Well, turnout certainly. And whether that margin of the vote is tilting Republican or Democrat, in the out areas of the state, we're pretty sure where the balance will be in Milwaukee and in the surrounding counties, but will it be very high turnout? Will it be very high margins?
So give me a number. What's high turnout in your mind?
High turnout would be, we got 2.1 million votes in 2010. We got almost 3 million in 2008. So if we're at 2,600,000, 2,700,000, those are very high turnout numbers.
And would you say that higher turnout favors one candidate over another?
You know, in the traditional wisdom is high turnout favors the Democrats. What we saw last year in the recalls was both parties managed to raise their turnout in the Senate recalls. Is that balanced or not? That, I think, is the most critical thing to watch for.
All right, Dr. Charles Franklin, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Stay with today's TMJ4 for coverage you can count on. We'll be live on air Tuesday night, of course, starting at 8 p.m.